Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, back again with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Last time on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, we had Overdrive. We met Baron Zeppeli, who just sort of came out of nowhere and was like, yo, I have been hunting this mask forever, and now I'm going to teach you the secret art of Hamon energy. And JoJo was like, okay, let's learn it. And he started to learn it. And then they took on Jack the Ripper, and he used his Hamon energy to kill Jack the Ripper, who was a zombie of Dio. Yeah, that was that. Also, I would like to say, I mentioned this a little bit last episode, but I'm going to try to tone it down on the reactions to the show where I am just aghast at what I am watching. You know, those, especially last episode where I was just like, okay, what's happening, I think? Okay, I get it. Not doing that anymore. We're not going to have those kinds of reactions. I don't like those kinds of reactions. Granted, all my reactions are genuine, but I'm going to try to take this and just take it, you know? This is just how this show is. It is insane. And I am going to take it. I'm going to take the brunt of it. So, I hopefully am prepared for whatever this show will throw at me. We'll find out. Yeah, this is where I say no spoilers in the comments whatsoever. And with that being said, we might as well get right into this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Here we go. Hey guys, just to let you know, I've been having some copyright issues with this episode, and because of that, the reaction cannot be hosted in this YouTube video. Let me actually look at the camera here. The reaction cannot be hosted in this YouTube video. If you want to watch my reaction to this episode, what you gotta do is head down in the description or to the pinned comment. There'll be a link there. You go, you click that, and it will take you to my reaction highlight. And yeah, you can go and enjoy that, and when you're done with that, you can pop back up here onto the YouTube video for the discussion. So yeah. I was kind of thinking, man, this is going on a while, you know, this might have to end with some sort of a cliffhanger. And yeah, it sure did. Okay. Whew. Another action-packed episode. For sure. It is interesting we got Dio back in this one, because he pretty much... I mean, we had a little bit of him, like, with Jack the Ripper last episode, but we didn't really get too much, and definitely not any interaction between Dio and JoJo. So that's interesting that we did get Dio back, although it is still sort of the thing of, you know, we keep fighting like mini bosses on our way to face Dio, which is interesting. Although each time it seems like, you know, each time it seems more and more like, you know, they keep saying like, okay, you know, here we are going to stop Dio once and for all, and it's like, oh, here? Are you sure? So yeah. Let's see here. So the first thing I wrote down in my notes here is skipping on water. So they used the Hamon energy in order to basically send it through the water so that you can skip along it, basically. That was very clever. I do like some of the different uses of Hamon energy. It is really nice to see, you know, how much can you do with it. You know, you can heal yourself, you can attack, and apparently you can skip along water. So I thought that was interesting, and I do like the distinction that, you know, JoJo, his shoes were getting wet because he's not fully there. You know, he's not as good as Baron Zeppeli. So, or he still needs to concentrate more. So I do like that. I wrote down the graveyard and Poco. That was clever. You know, the boy Poco taking away, you know, their money and then, you know, running off. That was interesting. And then the fact that it's like, okay, well, he was hypnotized. He was hypnotized by Dio in order to lure them there during the night. I thought that was interesting. And then, yeah, just seeing, you know, oh, here's all these zombies. And it's like, what do you do? So, yeah. Okay, so I wrote down ice and blood. So okay, Dio, who has only been a vampire for a little longer than JoJo has been. Using Hamon, but Dio knows everything about Hamon now. I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect there. Like, why? Like, how does he know everything about Hamon energy and how to counter it? That would be my question. Like, he must have learned off screen, basically, you know. So he completely knows about Hamon energy, and so can counteract it, which, you know, keeps like we've talked about in these videos. It keeps the power gap, you know, the power gap between him and JoJo, which honestly, you know, maybe not even a power gap, but a skill gap, basically. You know, they both have their special skills, and they're both, you know, incredibly formidable, but with each episode, they both have a different upper hand in each one, basically. So even though we thought, okay, JoJo should have the upper hand because, you know, he has the Hamon energy, Dio knows what to do and thus can counteract it, you know? And I like that the Hamon energy, there are limitations to it. You know, you have to be able to breathe, you know, in order to use it. And there has to be basically a conduit for it. And if Dio doesn't have any blood in his arm, then it doesn't pass through. So I thought that was clever. He basically he has full mastery over his body, so he took away all the blood in his arms so that the Hamon attacks wouldn't enter into his body, basically, and destroy him. I thought that was clever. And then he kind of, you know, did that to them too. You know, he froze their arms, got rid of the blood in their arms, and thus was starting to, you know, really hurt them, because honestly, frostbite at that point. So that was interesting. And it was also interesting, you know, just seeing them try to counter it, you know. And that did put Baron Zeppeli out of commission for a little bit, because his arm was completely just, you know, devoid of all blood, so he couldn't use his Hamon energy through it anymore. So I thought that was clever. Okay, I wrote down Liz 1, Elizabeth I, which, yes, this is the second time today that I've had to write down Elizabeth I. The other time that I wrote it down was while I was watching the Doctor Who 50th anniversary. I wrote that down there too. So, oh boy. So yeah, Elizabeth I, Tarakas and Bluford, and Mary, the Queen of the Scots. So this was an interesting thing they just sort of threw in here. You know, and it makes sense that they would... excuse me. Sorry, something in my teeth. I think I got it, sorry. This is just after dinner, so there's a few things in my teeth. Alright, we're good. Anyway. So, it makes sense that they would, you know, keep doing stuff like this, where it's like they're bringing in kind of historical figures into this, historical figures pretty much of the time and the area, because, you know, they already brought in Jack the Ripper and had Jack the Ripper be a servant of Dio. So now they brought in Tarukas and Bluford. Interesting backstory on the two of them. So they were incredibly powerful warriors who swore allegiance to Mary, the Queen of the Scots, and then when she was basically captured, they went on a rampage and apparently struck a deal with Queen Elizabeth I that if the two of them died, then Mary would be spared. However, Mary still died, you know? Mary still ended up dying, and they learned this right before they were executed, and it took, you know, like I said, it took a couple axes to get through their necks, which was interesting. And, okay, so Bluford is the one with the hair, and Tarukas is the big guy, which was interesting. So, okay, interesting backstory they threw in on the two of them, relating them to, you know, Mary and Elizabeth I. I thought that was really interesting. Again, you don't have to do this. You could just have, you know, these powerful zombies, but I like I do actually like that they are bringing in sort of these historical references, like these two, which I'm curious if these two are actually real. JoJo said, we learned about these two in grade school. I love how JoJo talks, by the way, which they all kind of have this same way of talking, but JoJo's is always like the most fun to imitate. We learned about these two in grade school, So I just love his voice. I think it's fun. So I'm very curious if Bluford and Tarukas are actually real or if they're just based on, stories. I have no idea. I don't know. I'll be honest. I didn't study much of Mary and Elizabeth I. So I do hate sometimes when I say because I've said it on here before. And if you don't know, I actually have a degree in history. I have a degree in history. And I feel like there are a lot of historical reference that I just don't know because I didn't study those when I was in college because nobody taught that in college, which I feel like sometimes I feel like, well, what the hell was the point of my degree when I can't recognize some of these things? But yeah, I did not know. If this is the case, I'm going to take the assumption that maybe they took some liberties here, Maybe, this is based on legends and stuff. I don't know if this was actually real. I guess it's sort of like Jack the Ripper in that respect. Jack the Ripper, granted, it's like, I don't even know. I don't know about Jack the Ripper. That's the other thing, too. But that's the problem is that I never studied, stuff like this. I didn't study Elizabeth and Mary. I didn't study, Jack the Ripper or anything in my history classes in college. So that is one thing that kind of irks me, and probably only me alone. I don't know if any of you guys have a history degree or are history majors in college and you know this, and I don't know if you guys have the same problem or not. If by some happenstance you are watching this video and you are either a major in history or you have a degree in history, you can let me know if you have the same problem. But this is one thing that I will say, and this is so off topic, but whatever. It's one thing that kind of annoys me. It's like, I have a degree in history. I don't know everything. Which, yeah, of course I wouldn't know everything. But there's some things where it's like, I feel like I should know some of this, But we didn't have a class about, monarchs and stuff, English monarchs. So, English monarchs and their crazy warriors, So, I did like the backstory, again, like I said, on Bluford and Tarukas, but I have no idea if they're real, but I don't know. I'll look it up after I record this, so yeah. And then the last thing I wrote down was the air pocket and the toy. So, okay, what exactly did Jonathan flash back to? Fucking Netflix. Netflix is so... whatever.
Trying to take it away from him, that claw hit is going deeper down. What's this? Danny's grabbed hold of your toy pistol and won't give it back. You're trying to take it away from him, that's the reason. Change your strategy. Try giving it to him instead.
Okay, so that whole thing was basically just change your strategy, Try giving it to him instead of taking it away. It was basically just a flashback. Change your strategy. Figure out a different way than the obvious, basically, which is how he figured out, to go down because, this is a mining place. There should be tunnels here, and he can get a breath. Which is interesting. I really did like that. It's very clever. It really highlights... Honestly, it once again, it highlights how intelligent JoJo is. Which I think is one of his more formidable strengths against Dio. Not to say that Dio is an idiot, he's not, but I feel like JoJo gets to demonstrate his intelligence more often. And I will say, that whole thing of, the reason that you can't just take the toy from the dog is because you're trying to take it. Because you're trying to take it, then he's going to fight you. If you give it to him, eventually, he's just going to leave it alone. I cannot tell you how many times I have to do that with my own dog, Like, if he has a toy and, he's starting to pull some of the threads out and try to eat it, it's a little hard just to take the toy. Now, sometimes you do have to do that, but sometimes it doesn't work, you know? So, I totally get that, but the main purpose of that flashback was so that JoJo can think, okay, I need to change my strategy. I need to figure out a different method, you know? Different from the obvious method, basically. And for that, it was instead of going up, I need to go down, and that's when he found the air pocket, was able to breathe, and then launch his attack. And we don't know if his attack landed or not. We will have to see next episode. But yeah, good episode. Really enjoyed that, and I'm curious to see where we are going from here. So yeah, with all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.